It's the channel's 60th episode, and what better way is there to commemorate such a significant number other than to associate it with one of the world's greatest zoos. This is now our 5th stop at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium, and today we are going to the furthest point from the entrance to begin our voyage to Australia and the Southeast Asian islands. There isn't much info out there that pertains to this exhibit, so I'll keep it simple, but that doesn't mean I can't guide you around. Because it's in the same region, I'm actually going to start us where we left off from the previous Columbus episode. In the Australia section, we toured through the Roadhouse, a post-roadside diner fit to blend in with Australia's and Indonesia's rainforest nights. If you'd like to see it, click on the card above. Now to continue this voyage. This Aussie section opened in 2004, and I'd say out of all of the zoo's major outdoor attractions, this one comes across as the weakest in terms of quality, but it's the animals that could change your mind. And it helps to have your first display exhibit koalas. The most bear-like of all the marsupials that tried to spend their entire lives in eucalyptus trees. The Columbus Zoo introduced them to the city in 1991, making them one of the first zoos in America to display koalas. They're known for being cute just as much as they're known for their sleeping habits. Koalas will feed for a few hours during the night and slumber for the rest of the time. So this is somewhat of a rare and definitely a crowd-pleasing sight. And yes, they do have an outdoor space connecting to their indoor home. And now introducing you to something entirely new. The Tasmanian Devils, the largest of the carnivorous marsupials. A rarity to us, but thanks to conservation programs, they're making their way back to the States. The zoo is home to 3 one-year-olds that came straight from Tasmania in May of 2019. Their exhibit, which is fairly simple, is the first new habitat to be added since this Australia's opening. Like their neighbors, you too can see them indoors and year-round. The Columbus Zoo is now the 7th place to receive Tassie Devils since their return to America in 2013. But they were exhibited here over 20 years ago. I'm glad I was able to properly introduce you to this species, and hopefully we'll see them again very soon. I'd like to talk more about them, but I ran out of footage. You can't quite have an Australian attraction without having their most iconic animal. Through the double doors is access to the Kangaroo Walk, the largest habitat in the whole island's region. You can fully immerse yourself with the largest of the marsupials. For the first time since episode 6, of course, kangaroos. If you couldn't tell, you're actually sharing the same open space with these weird and wonderful animals. The scattered educational panels act as road signs, and they mention droughts. What you probably didn't know is that they can affect a kangaroo's population not necessarily just from the lack of natural bodies of water, but if there isn't enough green and hydrating vegetation for them to eat, females not only won't conceive on their own terms, but males can't even produce what they need for breeding either. Fortunately, they've obtained a sense of smell where they can detect other water sources from 125 miles away. So yep, there's your kangaroo fact of the day. You're welcome. Here, they're free to move around, but you're given over 230 feet of path space that gives you a look at every square inch. With the exception of one area, you're always going to be within just a few feet of the red and western gray kangaroos. And I should mention, near the entrance, there's even a little stop for you to say hi to their cockatoos. Like the zoo says, once you're out of the walkabout, you'll leave feeling like you had a trip through Australia's deserts. Without the jet lag. Before we go into the next region, there's just one more stop. This fancy looking shelter is the Lower Keat Garden, a walk-through aviary where you can interact and feed with what seems to be hundreds of birds. They weren't out on this day, so here's a quick look at the exhibit, and hopefully I don't need to go on and explain what a Lower Keat is. Welcome to the region's part 2, the Southeast Asian Islands. This section, the stronger of the two, attempts to be more immersive in very creative ways. With the use of man-made scenery like Temple Rock and a waterway that flows in a full circle around the region, the islands can be compared to the zoo's Asia Quest. But since this opened in 2003, I could say this Voyage was the first Disney-like attraction to open at the Columbus Zoo. As of now, the boat ride's theme is the Dinosaur Island. The river track is over 850 feet long and winds past every exhibit to blend in like a real jungle cruise ride. Though I'm honestly not a fan of these being part of it, it does help fulfill its purpose by making it look like every individual habitat is part of the same space. As for the actual exhibits, straight ahead is the decaying temple-like structure filled with opportunities for acrobatics. It's home to a few gibbons, and no, this isn't their only space. Yes, we will see it later on. In the distance is the Voyage's most iconic stop, a narrow, multi-leveled meadow packed with chances to live in the air. This is the odd-looking sanctuary for the zoo's orangutans. 3 of them, which are Bornean to be specific, though at one time they did have a Sumatran live with them. This is the largest habitat in the Southeast Island region and the most memorable, most likely due to the high-profile creatures, but the design can come into play. The walls that contain them are meant to be crumbling stone, and the climate system is a little less natural than what you would expect from the Columbus Zoo, but this should tell you something about the place. The orangutan exhibit is the most criticized of all the zoo's habitats, and there's nothing really to even complain about, especially since there's no argument that could be made that says this doesn't give these apes the high elevated life they were built for. Through the jungle we go, into the darkest part of the islands. Though there's nothing serious about this one, only your heart will warm and tears may flow from joy by watching a romp of Asian small-clawed otters. They're distinguishable from the 13 other otter species by their short finger-like toes that aren't fully webbed. This allows them to better handle their food by hand. Oh yeah, and they also happen to be the smallest of all of them as well, which might also make you notice that their exhibit is massive compared to their size. So in my opinion, because of the zoo's choice to give such a small creature such a quality home, I find this to be the best exhibit in the islands region. The zoo's numbers are overwhelming, and it doesn't hurt with the fact that they're so active. Part of the reason for both of those facts is because 5 of them were born last year, and it's still apparent that they haven't tuckered out just yet. The next open view shows you the literal centerpiece of the islands, an actual island, and the rest of the space for the previously mentioned gibbons, more specifically white-handed or lar gibbons, and the fully black siamangs, which without a question are crowned the loudest animals in the entire zoo. Not far from that view is the Bird Lake, and or the boat ride's loading station. Though hopefully you'll notice that this large bog is home to a few large birds. There is the black swan, a usual resident, and the newcomers, the Dalmatian pelicans, and unfortunately not in a perfect view, the unusually designed painted stork. The path comes full circle at the top corner, and it has one final stop, weighing in at 150 pounds, maxing out at 10 feet long and able to eat up to 80% of its body weight in one sitting. It's the Komodo dragon exhibit. Those who've never been, if you don't see the animal outside, behind is your guaranteed chance to see the dragon supposedly terrorizing this small village. Though this one doesn't quite live up to the name world's largest lizard just yet. And passing them, the voyage is complete. Australia and the Southeast Asian islands, the perfect combination of neighboring regions, contrasted by its desert to rainforest environment, and animals so geographically close, but they could not appear any more different from each other than they already do. I hope you enjoyed our 5th tour at the Columbus Zoo, though there's still more to come as we head towards what will arguably be our greatest adventure to date. Thank you for watching.